Welcome to my 5,000 subscribers / 2,000 followers on random places Q&A. I asked you guys to ask me questions and ask you did, so today we will be answering those. Now, because I advertise this Q&A both to my YouTube audience and to my Tumblr / Amino audience, I do have two main categories of questions. I have the furry questions and I have the miraculous questions. So for those of you who are only interested in one or the other, I'm going to separate them. I'll put the furry / art questions in the first half of the video and the miraculous / amino questions in the second half of the video. So you don't have to sit through both if you don't want to. Alright, so without further ado, let's start with some of the furry questions.
First Player XD asks, did you make your fursuit or did you commission it?
I made it! It's actually my first one that I've ever made. I've made a little bit more since then. I made a partial as a commission for a friend on DeviantArt, and then I started working on another one just with some leftover materials, but I wasn't able to finish it before I moved back after graduating college. So I left the extra material with a friend of mine, hoping that he can finish it eventually. But I do hope to make more in the future and open back up for commissions. I've got some other techniques that I want to try, but for now, yeah, I've got this one, and yeah, I made it.
Master Baku asks, hi, it's Baku again. I thought I'd submit a question for the video. After having built your first suit yourself, what did you learn and what would you do different next time? And what would it have been nice to know beforehand that you didn't know when you started? Congrats on the subscribers.
Thank you, Baku. I certainly learned a couple of things. One thing that I need to work on is eye placement. With Natty K's eyes, they're a little bit too high in my head. My real eyes are actually like right in the corners. So I kind of have to do this to really see well out of her. And I mean, her eyes are pretty big, so she's got decent vision, but I do have my nose kind of smushed up way up here in her muzzle most of the time if I want to see out of her. I fixed that a little bit on Tucker, where his eyes are lower, but then I done goofed again because once I added his eyebrows, they were like covering up the vision, so his field of vision, even though the eyes are in a much better placement, isn't really much bigger than Natty K's, and then his forehead is just enormous. So I need to find a balance between that, between the location of the eyes in comparison to the head, and how to make them just to maximize visibility. I mean, visibility is always going to be a little bit limited in a fursuit, that's just comes with the territory, but that's one thing I need to work on. Another thing is I made Natty K's teeth out of this hard clay, which is fine, but when I made Tucker, I actually made them out of fabric, which I like better, and I'm going to experiment more with that in the future. Other things, let's see, with the bodysuit. This is actually the only bodysuit I've ever made. The other two suits that I was working on were both partials, and one thing that I wish I'd done was use a duct tape dummy, because I didn't do that. What I actually did was I traced over my Kigu. I have a Totoro Kigu, and I used that to make the pattern, and then it was way too baggy, which I should have seen coming, but I didn't. So I had to actually slim it down several times to get it to suit me a little more decently and not just be like blobcat. That's one thing I'm going to try in the future. The next time that I make a full suit is try using a duct tape dummy. I think that'll be very helpful. And the eyes. Natty K's eyes are 3D, but because they're so shallow, they don't have as much a follow me effect as I would have wanted. Tucker's eyes were deeper and they worked much better, so that's another thing I will be doing in the future. One thing that I also learned is to shave the fur on your face. Actually, if you go look at my first Q&A, it's you can see my head before I shaved down the fur, and it is so scraggly. It's such a mess. Like, you don't really think about it the first time you're making a suit necessarily, but shaving down the fur on like the thin parts like the muzzle and around the eyes makes such a big difference in having a clean, presentable character and not look like scruff everywhere. So that's another good thing. I also want to use Minky on the nose in the future. I used Minky on Tucker's paw pads, not on Natty K's ratchet ones, and that's like really nice and really soft, so that's also something I want to do in the future.
Weird Person asks, OMG, congratulations! 2 questions. How long have you been in the furry fandom, and how did you get to know the fandom? All the love, and again, congrats.
Thank you, Weird Person. That's actually a little bit complicated because I was sort of involved with the furry fandom for a long time before actually officially considering myself part of it. And that's because I actually got my start in the internet mostly in the Balto fandom. And it's through the Balto fandom that I learned about things like OCs and Fursonas and all the other stereotypical furry stuff. So I've had a fursona since I was like 11, but I was never really fully introduced to the fandom per se until much later. I had heard about furries like on and off throughout the internet, but For a couple of years, I never really considered myself one, partly because by the time I'd heard of them, I'd somewhat grown out of that wolfish phase that I had around 11 when I was part of the Balto community. And I was in a point where I still liked animals, but I wasn't as into it. And then later I started getting into it again, and that's when I discovered furry YouTubers and fursuiting and stuff like that, which is stuff that I'd seen around but had never really sought out before. And then I looked into it and I was like, this looks really fun. I want to get in on that action. So I was like, you know what? I think we're gonna try making a fursuit. So I did. And then I was like, well, if I have a fursuit, I can't really not call myself a furry anymore. So that's kind of how I joined, but I don't know. Like I said, I've had a persona since I was really, really young. I just never really actually started calling myself a furry until about a year ago, maybe. But I mean, I've basically been part of it for at least 10 years, just without officially calling myself that, if that makes sense.
Axolotl Flip Notes asks, I got a question. What OC was your first?
Okay, that's kind of a difficult one. Okay, like I said, I've been making like OCs and stuff since I was very, very young. So I'm not sure if I can remember which one was technically my first, but I would say the first one that I really had a strong connection to was a wolf named Nightstar, who I first created in, I think it was 5th grade. I used her quite actively for a couple years following that. She was almost like a second persona. She was never officially my persona. My persona's always been a cat, but I used her very often, and she was a very major character to me at that point in time. And I had a lot of story and lore based around her, and role-played her a bit with some of my friends, and overall she was just a really major character in my early life. I haven't actually used her in years, but she definitely holds a place in my heart just for the history that I have with this character. Koneko asks, holy crap, girl! Okay, let's go through these one at a time.
You opened up for a Q&A? Oh, challenge accepted. First, how do you go about animating like in your super cute videos? Do you draw it frame by frame, or do you have a program to expedite the process?
It depends on the video and what style I'm going for. If it's like a full-on detailed lip sync like this one, that will be mostly frame by frame. But if it's just like something simple like a silly meme, what I'll do is I'll draw each part individually and then use something called the function editor to manipulate the drawings. Some people call this tweening. I'm not really sure why, because it's different from traditional in-betweening, but that's something that you can use to speed up the process. So it's not as nice or fluid as frame-by-frame drawing, but if you're looking for something just quick and fun and meme-like, then it's a good way to speed up the process and just kind of throw something out. And that's what I'll do for stuff like this, or this. The program I use for 2D work is Toon Boom Studio 2010, so it's a pretty old program at this point, but I've been using it for a while and it works. At my school we also had TV Paint, which I really like, but unfortunately I don't have it on my own computer, but I'd like to get that someday, and also Satif, and that would be really useful for the more frame-by-frame stuff, because it's much better at simulating the pencil sketching, so I'd really like to use that at some point. I've mostly just used Toon Boom Studio for my digital animations, which is not as good with the sketching, but it's good for vector work and stuff like that, so yeah.
Now that silly question's out of the way, on to the serious stuff. What's your opinion on 3-year-olds?
Well, they are certainly 3 years old. They are young people. Yep.
Do you like cookies?
I do like cookies. They are delicious. I don't know who doesn't like cookies. If you don't like cookies, there's something wrong with you.
Disclaimer, I am just kidding. It's perfectly okay not to like cookies. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Continue on.
What's your favorite color?
My favorite color is blue. Surprise, surprise.
Better question. What's your favorite planet?
When I was a kid, my favorite planet was always Saturn.
Why?
I don't know why, I just thought it looked cool, so there's that.
Don't you like Earth? Because Earth grows vegetables. I like vegetables, do you?
Nothing wrong with Earth, of course. Earth is great. Love Earth. Earth is good. No, I don't particularly like vegetables. I know. I have a problem. Never learned to like them, and I probably should, but yeah. I'm a cat. I'm a carnivore. What can I say?
Carrots, thanks for asking, but I only like them raw. Because I don't like them cooked. Hey, Natty K, I'll ask the questions here. Cats or dogs?
Cats. Cats. Cats.
Disclaimer, dogs are cool too, but I quite prefer cats. Dogs are just a little too high energy for me personally, and so if you like dogs, that is awesome, but personally, I'd rather have a cat, and also they're really cute. Meow.
Do you do commission tattoo designs? Asking for a friend.
I guess I could, theoretically, but I don't know how good they'd be. I don't really have a lot of experience with designing tattoos, but I mean, if you really want me to, I could give it a go. I won't say no to some monies, so yeah.
No, seriously, I bet your costume has a tattoo. Does it?
My character does not have a tattoo, but she is an animal, so she has various markings. Does that count?
Did you go through a wild mascot phase?
Well, a fursuit and a mascot aren't quite the same thing. I understand why people make that connection, and it makes sense. However, a mascot is usually meant to represent like a team, or a company, or some other organization, whereas a fursuit or a fursona is meant to represent a single individual. In general, a mascot costume will be usually a little bit lower quality than a professional fursuit, and usually very loose and baggy, made to be worn by several different performers, whereas a fursuit will be tailored to one specific individual because it's made to represent that person's particular character. That's not to say there aren't furries who might use an old mascot suit as a fursuit, which is perfectly fine and valid, but in general, mascot suits and fursuits aren't quite the same thing. So, no, she didn't have a mascot face.
Do you talk to said mascot when you think no one's listening? Hey, I don't judge.
I do not talk to my fursuit, but I do talk to my plushies a little bit. Not in a creepy way, just in a, oh, you're so cute kind of way, like somebody would talk to their pets, because I don't currently have a pet, and I want one. I want a cat, but one day. One day.
Okay, bye.
Bye! Thanks for all the questions. Alright, next question.
Spoon Mari asks, what got you into art in the first place? How long have you been drawing, and what gives you inspiration to work? Sorry for multiple questions, hope you don't mind.
That's kind of a difficult one, because I've never really had one specific thing that made me want to draw. Drawing has always just been something that I've done for as long as I can remember, really. From the time I was like a really little kid, I just loved using the crayons and making marks on the page, and drawing and creating new characters and coming up with stories. It's not really something I ever consciously chose to do, it's just something that I've always done, and then just evolved from there. So, and what gives me inspiration? Yeah, that's hard too, because like I said, it's just always something that I've done. And I suppose like some of my favorite shows and books and stuff kind of gives me inspiration because I'll draw fan art for them. Other artists I see, and I see really good work or really cool stuff that'll inspire me to kind of explore that and do the same thing, and you know, just usual artist stuff.
Kawaii Kwame asks, how are you so good at making absolutely adorable art?
Aw, thank you. But honestly, the secret to art is just practice. I've been practicing for like 20 years, and I like cute things, and therefore I draw cute things, and therefore I get good at drawing cute things. So if you want to draw adorable art, just practice drawing adorable art. That's really the secret to drawing, is just practice, 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 just like any other skill.
Joseph Armstrong asks, if you could see yourself as a Pokemon, who would you choose? Officer Scar asks, this one's a classic and a bit unoriginal, but I'll ask it anyway. How did you find Miraculous Ladybug?
To be honest, I don't entirely remember, but it was most likely I saw some GIFs on Tumblr and I was like, that looks cute, I like the animation, I'm gonna look it up, and then I did, so here we are.
Sunny Skies asks, hey Natty, congrats on the milestone by the way. I was wondering, what got you into the Miraculous Ladybug fandom? Keep being awesome.
Thanks, Sunny Skies. This one is a little bit more complicated than the previous one, because it's one thing to watch and enjoy a show, and it's another thing to be directly involved with the fandom. So, I started watching Miraculous not immediately when it came out, before season 1 was fully released. So that was like 2 years ago, and I know it was in my sophomore year of college, because I specifically remember watching Origins when it came out with my roommate, and her rewinding like 5 times to rewatch the Umbrella scene, not that I was complaining. But I didn't actually get directly involved with the fandom, as in making fan art and reading fanfics and stuff like that, until just a few months ago. I think it was last November, maybe? And honestly, I can't really tell you what triggered the change from just casually enjoying it to jumping in the fandom, because I'm not really sure what it is myself. It was kind of spontaneous. I think it might have been at the time I was really stressed out. Finals coming up, and there was all these projects that I had to finish, and my brain was looking for something to latch onto as, I guess, a catharsis or something, like to take my mind off all the stress or the craziness. And right around that time, the episode Dark Owl came out, which was very intense because of the spoiler alert, almost reveal, and that like, there goes my feels. I think between that and the stress, my brain just kind of latched onto it. It hasn't let go yet, so here I am. I'm glad people enjoy my content, but there's the crazy story for that. So I'm not really sure why my brain decided to grab onto it, but it did, and here we are. Woohoo. Okay, and I think this is the last question, so let's see.
And Life Gives You Rally asks, have any advice for high school / college students from a wise person such as yourself?
The problem with this question is it really depends on the type of person you are and how you deal with things. For me, especially going into college where you're a lot more in control of your time and what happens when, it really helps to have a set schedule for every day. Not like I do this exact routine every day, but something that would help me kind of get through everything is kind of in my head on the way to class. I'd be like, okay, now I'm going to go to class, and after class I'm going to go to the library and study, and after that I'm going to go to the lab and work on my project, and after that I'll go have dinner or something, and after that I'll go study, and just having a solid routine in my head, like a plan every morning, helped me get everything done. So that's one thing you could try. Another thing I'd suggest, maybe this is a little bit of a weightier topic, but I struggled a lot with anxiety throughout college, and most semesters I couldn't get by without at least 1 or 2 major mental breakdowns at some point in the semester, usually around midterms and around finals. And what really helped me with that was being able to go see a counselor and being able to talk all my issues and my stresses over. And then even more so when my mom eventually talked me into going to see the psychiatrist and being able to get medication to help with my anxiety. And it's something that I was really nervous about at first, because I guess for some people there's like a kind of a stigma around taking medication for that kind of thing. But while it didn't completely take away my problems, it did help a lot. So if you are struggling with that kind of thing and you're always stressed out and you're always tired, that's something you could consider, and there's no shame in that. So yeah, maybe a weightier topic, but that can help. So yeah, other than that, just staying on top of all your work, knowing your limits, knowing how much you can get done, and just being a good student. Just be a good noodle, get your stuff done, and you should be fine. Yeah, good luck with college and high school and everything. I believe in you. You can do it. Yes. Okay, and I think this is the last question.
Last question.
Oh no, I forgot a few questions! Okay, I was just about to start editing this video and I found a couple of more questions that I forgot to answer, so I am so sorry. I will answer them now. And I'm not wearing my full suit anymore, and I was not putting it back on because it is so hot. Sorry about that, but I will answer your questions. I'm so sorry. Okay, first question.
Fauna Backup asks, what are your opinions on younger kids below the amino rule of 13+ on amino?
Oh, jeez. Well, I'm not against kids on the internet in general, but rules are rules. They're there for a reason, and yeah, 13 really isn't that old. I know that sounds kind of weird to my younger viewers, but once you get to be 21 like me, you're like, yeah, 13 is really young. I think you can wait. I know that's not what you want to hear, and I'm not gonna say that people under 13 are horrible and shouldn't be anywhere. That's not the case at all. I'm sure many of you are great and mature, but you can wait. It's okay. Just follow the rules and be patient and you will be fine.
Kit Kat asks, are you a furry?
Yes.
Luffy Kwame asks, congrats!
Thank you.
Question, what inspires you to do your art? Do you have an idol or do you just love doing it?
I kind of went into this one before. Mostly I just love doing it. It's just something that I've always done. There are a number of artists whose art I really like for various reasons, but for the most part, yeah, I just really like doing it. It's just something that I do.
Rudy asks, what got you into Miraculous Ladybug?
I've already kind of answered this one before, so I will give the reference to that here. And yeah, oh sorry, no pause. I told you, all my parts are really sweaty right now, so I'm not putting them back on. But yeah, so right here is the answer to that question. So alright, we're done for real. Sorry about that, and alright, so yeah.